Hey guys, I just watched The House on Pine Street. Don't know why I watched The House on Pine Street. It was a waste of my time, but well, actually I can say I do know why I watched it. It was on the festival circuit. There was all these cool blurbs about how amazing it is and how it's gonna redefine horror and other BS crap that they pulled out of their ass. It's not good at all. Let's just get started talking about them using that same filter that I always complain about. And I've said before, I've only seen it work in Saw. Don't know why people keep trying to replicate it and not getting it right, but that right there started me off wrong. We meet this pregnant lady named Jennifer and her husband Luke, who just moved back to Jennifer's hometown from Chicago when she became pregnant. They show us the house that they're moving into, which is kind of old and, in my opinion, dilapidated. And there's one scene I do kind of like when she looks at the wall in absolute horror and it's all cracked up and peeling, and I completely understand why she looked that way, because I would have looked at it the same exact way. I can't stand stuff like that. My number one mission, if I had to move to that house, would be to scrape all that down, spackle, sand, repaint until I cannot see the cracks anymore, because that would irritate the hell out of me. We get to meet Jennifer, or Jenny's mother, and she is extremely overbearing, and as we come, well, in my opinion, as we come to find out that Jenny is extremely annoying. I would say she's about as annoying as her mother is overbearing. I don't know which one was worse. And then there's Luke, but I'll get to that in a minute. Jenny has tension with her husband because she did not want to move back home. He moved back home to her hometown for what he told her is a temporary job that'll make them more money since she's having a baby. And of course, when people have children, they need money. At least the average thinking, logical person thinks that, but we do know that there are people who don't have a pot to piss in nor one to throw out of, and they'll still keep having baby after baby after baby. That's besides the point. Jenny and her husband Luke have tension between them because Jenny really doesn't want to move back to her hometown. She was more comfortable in Chicago. She wants to go back to Chicago, and I can really identify with her on that because I would not want to move back to my hometown. Shout out to Connecticut. I don't know why anybody wants to still live there, but that's how I feel. I guess that's kind of rude, isn't it? I can't help it. I'm from Connecticut. We're raised on rudeness. That and looking at people like this. Where was I? Jenny's overbearing mother throws a housewarming party without actually getting Jenny's permission, and at the housewarming party we meet Walter, who is gifted. He does not consider himself a psychic, just that he has certain gifts. We notice him looking up at something in the ceiling, and we don't know what it is, but Jenny walks over and starts a conversation with him. He doesn't really say what it was that he was looking up at, but he comes back to speak to her at another time. While Walter was looking up at whatever he was looking up at, they decided to use that Paranormal Activity grumble noise, and that's as played out as the sepia, however you pronounce it, filter. Just stop it. The grumble noise, it doesn't work anymore. It's not scary anymore. Please stop it. As the movie goes along, Jenny continues to be irritating and annoying. Her husband continues to be a dick, and her mother is absolutely unbearable. How do they expect us to care about what happens to any of these characters when they make them so unlikable? And it would almost be okay if this was a slasher movie and we were at least going to get some good kills out of it. But it's not a slasher movie. We're not going to get any really good kills out of it. We're just going to get an hour and a half of unlikable people responding to bumps and noises and different paranormal activities. It goes without saying that once Jenny starts experiencing these things, especially with that crock pot incident, if you've seen the movie you know what I'm talking about, I would have been out of there. Any average person would have been out of there. But since it's a movie, protagonists cannot leave. They have to act like, oh, it's in my head, or maybe I'm just, imagining things. So they stay. Every time something like this happens, it's always when Jenny's in the house by herself. And it made me start thinking, why in these movies do these things always happen when the husband is gone? In The Conjuring, it started with things happening when the husband was gone. In Annabelle, things were happening when the husband was gone. In Insidious, things were happening when the husband was gone. Did I miss one? Oh, the Paranormal Activity movies. The first one, the second one, part of the third one, I would say, things were happening when not just the husband was gone, but when the parents were gone at first. Her friend from Chicago comes to visit with her toddler son. And what I do like about that is that the friend immediately believed her when she told her, the different things that were going on. And it was also a pretty cool scene with the toddler talking to the ghost. And I always think that's cool because that happens in real life. You can Google it, you can look for YouTube videos. There's there's occurrences over and over again of small children and toddlers speaking about ghosts or speaking to ghosts. Can't remember who said it, but someone once said it's because they're closer to death, because they've just come into the world. The closer they are to having just come into the world, the closer they are to death, so they see it. Either that, or there's other theories that all of us are psychic, but we talk ourselves out of it by the time we're 8, 9, 10 years old. We talk ourselves out of seeing things, and then we no longer see them. Do with that what you will. Of course, the husband does not believe in ghosts, but they do call Walter back to the house. They leave Walter alone in a room with Jennifer, and Walter sees something and just books it the hell out of there, just out the door. The husband responds to this as if it didn't happen at all, and it's still in his wife's mind. When in reality you would think, well, something scared that man out of my house. But Luke's a jerk and Jenny is unlikable, so none of this matters. At one point, Luke tells Jenny to confront it because he thinks it's still in her head. And for a moment there, I kind of like the idea of her confronting it. I mean, I would love to see that in a ghost movie, just to see what the ghost would do. Like if the person was just like, oh, you want to slam doors and break plates? That's all you got? That's all you got for me? Punk ass ghost, Casper ass, fake ass, not even scary ghost. What you got? I want to see someone do that in a movie, just one time. Finally, Luke sees something ghostish and then pretends like he doesn't see it at all, and even goes as far as to tell Jenny's mother that he hasn't experienced anything odd in the house, which is BS and makes me hate him even more. There's a little side plot, I wouldn't even call it a plot, I would call it an interruption of the plot, where Jenny goes and meets her neighbor who has these mute daughters who just decided to be mute. And they kind of piss me off because there's another point in the movie where Jenny goes back to the house, knocks on the door, and she's asking where their mother is, and they just stare blankly at her. And I'm just like, listen, I know you two little bitches are mute, but that doesn't mean you can't shake your head yes or no to answer a question. That was irritating as hell. I don't even know why they put that in the movie other than to just irritate people. Jenny decides to visit Walter and see what he has to say about why he ran out of the house. He starts talking to her about energies, positive energies, negative energies, and how if a place has a negative energy and if the person coming into that place has a negative energy, and the two negative energies combine, they can form a super negative Voltron energy, and it will start slamming doors and manifesting people and some other stuff. Well, he didn't say anything about the doors or manifesting people, but that's what it did. This is basically doors slamming the movie. I'm not going to spoil the movie and tell you whether it's in Jenny's head or whether there are really things going on, because it's crap. It's all bull crap. I don't even know why this movie has all these accolades. I think it won like Best Actress in some festival and Best Film in some festival, or festival pick or some other crap. I swear these movies must be made by the children of producers who, you know, just for fun make little crappy ass movies and then tell all their friends to write up glowing reviews so that you go on IMDb and the movie will say, oh, this got 8 stars. Wow. Then you watch it and you're like, did they see the same movie that I'm watching right now? Because it damn sure is not worth 8 stars. It's not even worth 2 stars. Speaking of which, I did come up with a rating system finally, because I figured I should have a rating system. So for this movie, I'm giving it a scare score of 0 because there were 0 scares, a gore score of 0 because there was no gore, and a fun factor of, wait for it, 0 because it was not fun to watch at all. I only finished watching it just so that I can make this review. Now I'm gonna go watch this other movie called Lake Eerie, which I understand is similar to The House on Pine Street, although I hope it is better than The House on Pine Street. And I'll let you know what I think about it in just a moment. Okay, so I just finished watching Lake Eerie. When I saw the trailer, it looked very promising, but as this movie started, that promise started to dwindle away. Again, with the muted colors, I was so bored, and it's very disheartening when you watch 2 movies on one night and both of them are boring. Let's talk about the lighting. What they were trying to go for was a spooky look to the house, but it didn't make it look spooky at all, it just made it look dark. And there's a difference. You can have a completely scary scene and bright daylight. Check out some the Insidious movies. There are a few scenes in those movies that happen in the middle of the daytime in a well-lit room, and it's still creepier than anything that you will see in this movie. They introduce a kooky neighbor lady, which doesn't help the movie at all. Then nothing happens for another 30 minutes. Then there's a crazy sex scene, the weirdest sex scene that led to a jump scare that I've ever seen in my life. It just came out of nowhere. We're just gonna put this right in here, and that's what we're gonna do. Oh, I forgot to tell you our main protagonist's name. Her name is Kate. Not that it matters, but Kate sees a naked lady coming out of Lake Eerie, and she proceeds to take some pills. So even though they never explain to us what the pills are for, we are to assume that she's had some psychological issues of the past. There's a flashback to her husband passing away, and so it's pretty much implied that these pills are for psychological reasons, because every time she sees something odd, she pops a pill. At one point in the movie, I was thinking, is she gonna overdose? Because this is like the 4th time, and it's still in the same day that she's popping these pills. There's gotta be a limit to how many of these that you can pop in a day. The kooky neighbor keeps telling her about her niece, who is obsessed with the former owner of her house. The former owner of her house was this famous archaeologist, and the niece supposedly had done a research paper about him, and she's really excited and wants to come in the house and just to be in her, not her mentor, but her hero of some sorts, house. The niece is exposition personified. She just, in every conversation that she has with Kate, is just exposition, 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 other lazy exposition, etc. As I watched this, I kept on thinking, this doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like a TV show, like a Ghost Whisperer type TV show, only not on the... There's the thunder. I'm doing this during a tropical depression, but I'm not gonna let that stop us unless the electricity goes out. Maybe I'll light a candle and continue. Anyways, I forgot what I was gonna say. This feels like a TV movie. Not even a TV movie. It feels like a TV show. Like a Ghost Whisperer type TV show. And not even on the big 3 networks. Not on like NBC, CBS, or ABC. Like on the CW or something. That's what it feels like. That type of TV show. It doesn't feel like a movie at all. They find out that the archaeologist, whose name is Harrison by the way, is stuck in, I'm just gonna call it the Further, because it's pretty much the same thing as the Further. He ends up communicating to Kate through a radio, and I think she took pills again right after that happened, because she didn't know whether it was real or in her head. In this radio conversation, Harrison tells her point blank, get out of the house. Does she leave? We all know the answer to that. Of course she doesn't leave. There's another interaction where Harrison tells her to get out. I'm trying to remember whether it was in a dream or not. I can't remember because, shoot, I just watched this movie and I already forgot what happened. It's that inconsequential. Anyways, the chick was told to get out twice. She didn't get out. So then she stays there with Autumn. I'm not going to tell you what happened. If you actually want to waste an hour and a half of your life to find out what happens, that's on you. It's a terrible movie. Nothing really happens. It's just a lady in a house with a kooky neighbor, and a girl comes to visit her. And that's it. That's all that happened. And this is another one of those, oh, it's on a festival circuit and it's got all these great reviews. It's such a great movie. It's gonna change the face of horror. No, it's not. You're all full of crap. You're making this up. I don't know who you are, but now you're gonna make it so bad that when there are actual movies that are really good festival movies, I'm gonna approach it with skepticism because of this crap. You're pumping up these movies that are nowhere near good. I mean, this movie was not even as good as a made-for Sci-Fi Channel original. Sharknado was better than this movie. But this movie has all the critical acclaim. I guess it's time for my ratings. Yeah. So I'm gonna give this a scare score of 1. Weak sauce. I'm gonna give this a gore score of none, because there was no gore at all. And give this a fun factor of 1, just because of the sex scene that turned into a jump scare. That was at least creative. I gotta find better ways of spending my time.